There's a specific type of character in every game that doesn't just make things harder, they make them stupider. You already know them. You see their name or even hear them, and you already feel your soul leaving your body. It's not even fear, really. It's just exhausting. Because you've been here before. You've played these games. Now, this isn't about strong characters that you could outplay or learn to counter if you practiced enough. This is about the ones that broke the game so bad, it kind of felt like the devs forgot how their own systems worked. Someone pops off with them, and then eventually everyone's running said character. Like, why even bother learning matchups when you got Mr. Server Admin over here absolutely cooking you in every situation? So yeah, these are some of the ones I remember. Now let me just circle the word some on your screen so that you know that I'm not going to cover every possible broken character that has ever appeared in the form of media that is video games. So I know there are more broken ones, so I'll leave the onus on you to leave them in the comments and tell me how demonic they were in their heyday. Also, join the Discord if you want to be part of the community. I'll leave that in the link below. Okay, so if you were around during the Brawl era and you didn't hate Meta Knight, you were the Meta Knight main. He wasn't just good, he seemed like he was made for an entirely different game. So Brawl was already kind of weird, and it was like full of floaty physics, strange momentum, and trippy mechanics. So you didn't exactly play against Meta Knight, you just survived until the next stock. The bastard had no bad matchups, literally. People ran spreadsheets and tried to theory craft who could maybe hang with him, and every single answer ended in, yeah, but Meta Knight still wins that. He had priority on basically every move, frame data that looked like someone dropped, Chip Zanath from Guilty Gear. That's a crazy reference. If you know, you know. Straight into Smash, and they just forgot to tone anything down. And he had an air game that made it feel like you were fighting a mosquito with a lightsaber. So just to kind of simplify it, he had 5 jumps, glide mechanics, frame 3 tornado that could cook through shields, a down smash that came out fast and killed even faster, and he could ledge stall so hard that tournaments actually started putting in-house rules to prevent him from literally just hanging out on the ledge until you either died of boredom or tried to challenge it and just simply got sent to the Shadow Realm. MK Dittos became the norm because if you weren't picking him, you weren't playing to win. Tournaments started banning stages just because Meta Knight existed. There was a whole community war around whether he should be banned entirely. People were writing essays and they were cooking up like matchup flowcharts. It was ridiculous. And even some major tournaments banned him outright, while some other ones stuck with heavy stage bans or just let them do whatever. It warped the meta so hard it became a black hole. But of course, people still showed up since they're nerds, they got nothing else to do. And of course, they worked around it with, dittos. They learned some stupid cancel mechanics. They figured out tech with infinite dimensional cape. I remember that one. And as annoying it was to play against Meta Knight, the fact that everyone came together as if it was like, I don't even know, Thanos to figure out how to beat him, it was kind of beautiful. So Meta Knight was busted as balls, but he was also iconic. I mean, there's a level of aura there. I gotta respect it, but I didn't respect it at the time. Next up is Bridget, sorry. So she wasn't supposed to be a problem. She was actually supposed to be a solution, because at the time, dive comps were harassing everyone in rank, particularly Genji, Winston, and D.Va, who would just fly across the map, cook your backline, and you could do fuck all. It's kind of like someone choking on, I don't know, let's say a fish bone, and then you throw them underwater and drown them because it could help them with swallowing it. So yeah, that's a great comparison. Anyways, so people were begging for an answer, and Blizzard was like, okay, here we go. She has a shield and a flail. That should help you guys. It didn't help. It broke everything. Bridget was, it's funny because she was labeled as a support, but that's like calling a Hellcat a luxury car. You had a character who could stun you, out-heal chip damage, apply armor, and swing on multiple mofos at once just by being in the middle of the fight. Barely any aim required, just proximity and vibes. At times, it felt like she was dealing Bluetooth damage. I just couldn't comprehend that shit. Now, she wasn't the reason GOATS was born. Technically, that started with a team called GOATS in Contenders, but she absolutely fast-tracked it. 3 tanks, 3 supports, no DPS, just a hulking fucking wall of sustain and CC. If you weren't running Bridget, you weren't running goats. And if you weren't running goats, you were running back to spawn every fight. Her kit didn't just shift the meta. Every high tier match turned into the same lineup on both sides, with Bridget sitting in the center, holding the entire thing together. What made that possible was her shield of 600 HP, delightful, armor stacking, passive healing, and the kind of crowd control that vanquished any diver to the Shadow Realm, up there with Meta Knight's kit, right? So she didn't play like a healer in the slightest. Imagine in Rivals, imagine the crash out if NetEase came out and dropped Captain China, right? And Captain China was a support that had a 600 HP shield. Yeah, that would go very, very well. So the way that I would describe her is she was like the Snape of Overwatch, doing evil things, but for the greater good. So as you would imagine, the Overwatch community, which is well renowned for being calm, cool, and collected, allowed Blizzard to resolve this issue in an ample amount of time. No, I lied. Streamers hated her, casuals hated her, pros hated her, your mom probably hated her, people stopped playing the game little by little. And even Bridget mains were like, yeah, this is a little much. And I don't know why I do the accents, so don't ask me. So of course, Blizzard had to give her multiple reworks over time, where they nerfed her stun, her armor, her healing aura, and slowly, piece by piece, Mustache Man was dead. But just like the Second World War, the memory sticks. Bridget didn't just break the game, she broke the rhythm of Overwatch. She broke the spirits of the player base. She took something that was about positioning and team coordination and turned it into mosh pit healing. And for a while, we all just had to accept that the best move in a hero shooter, let's focus on that, hero shooter, was picking a melee support who had the crowd control energy of Erza Scarlet. But now we have my goats, Anakin Skywalker. So there are broken characters, and then there was Anakin. When he came out in Battlefront II, it wasn't like, oh, this guy's strong. It was more like, why are there any other characters at this point? It felt like you were playing fanfiction Anakin than the one we actually got in the lore. He had everything: crazy damage, ridiculous tankiness, splashy abilities with barely any cooldown, and a passive that punished you harder the better you played. So let's start with Heroic Might, which was basically a go fuck yourself button. So it charged up the more he got hit, and when you released it, everything around him got vanquished. The idea was that you'd risk taking damage to time it right, but in practice, it means you could tank a few shots, then press the button, and then the whole room's gone. He didn't even need a team. He was the team. Like, entire choke points could get wiped out because some guy thought, hey, let's go poke Anakin twice. Then there was Pull Dominance, which was basically the Bonnie Blue of abilities. So, if you were unlucky enough to be in front of him, then you couldn't do anything about it. It just sucked you in and then sent you to hell. It wasn't a setup tool at all. It was the setup. Anytime he pulled a group, someone was dying. No, most of you were dying in that group. But the real shitter here was Retribution, which was effectively like, how dare you touch our golden child Anakin ability. Every bit of damage he and the team took would charge it up. And once it was full, he would let out a force choke that would stun everybody in range. So you could be feeling pretty good about the push you and your squad just made, and then you would see Anakin pull up, maybe he says something about the Republic, and then that totally undermines everything you just did to get to point. And there's nothing you can do about it. He would freeze your whole team and then give you back shots while thinking about Padme, and then he get even more angry because he knows that she's gonna die. So, there's absolutely no chance in hell. So Anakin didn't just win fights, he straight up dictated them. The whole flow of a match changed the moment he spawned in. If he was on your team, everybody kind of became his backup dancers, just feeding him damage. If he was on the other team, you were just hoping that he had his abilities on cooldown. So DICE eventually stepped in, nerfed all of his abilities, but for a brief time, he was the Anakin that reached his full potential and never became Vader. So I guess that's the only good thing about it. Next up is Bucky. Not just any Bucky, Season 1 Bucky. This guy wasn't just strong, he was a walking trauma response. The kind of guy that made you question if anyone on the dev team had ever played their own game. Because the second Bucky pulled up, the match started sounding like a war crime. The hook was the main issue here. It wasn't a tool, it was a lifestyle. You weren't dodging it, you weren't outplaying it. You were just praying the Bucky player was either ass or they lagged out. The hitbox felt like it had its own personality. You could be around the corner, on high ground, mid-air with a dash. It didn't matter, that thing was still grabbing you. And once you were diddled, that was it. Hook into combo, combo into kill. If you got grazed, you were donezo. You weren't fighting Bucky. You were fighting a force of nature. He was built around relentless momentum. He didn't win fights. He made it impossible for you to participate in them because you were either stunned and disoriented or watching him gain overshield. And worst of all, his E didn't even have to hit you to trigger that shield. But it wasn't just the hook. His damage was crazy. And his ultimate let him stay in the fight longer than was even remotely fair. Like, you could start a family in the time it actually took to go on cooldown. As long as he kept getting kills, it just kept resetting. You'd hear again and say to yourself, again? Naturally, the Rivals subreddit was full of complaints and memes because, well, memes are the only way you could cope with how broken the fucking guy was. And then he eventually got the name Server Admin Bucky. And this led him to being played in tournaments, teams built comps around him, and worst of all, it all worked. Even when you think you had a solution, he would just undermine it. Eventually, they did nerf him. His hook hitbox got cleaned up. You actually had to hit your abilities to get overshield, and his play rate dropped a bit. But since then, he's been getting silent buffs. I don't get it. What does this? Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. He's broken again. And honestly, I just gave up. I've started to play him because if you can't beat him, jerk him off. Now we've got Chamber. So Riot basically built a character for people who hate consequences. You could hold an angle, insta headshot someone with a gun that hits like an AWP, teleport out before anyone could trade you, and still have a trap on the other side of the map doing your job for you. It's like every part of his kit was meant to rage bait you. This wasn't even some random balance phase either. Chamber's reign of terror basically defined Valorant through 2022. He was released in late 2021, and then he got big nerfs in December of 2022. So he was everywhere. Every ranked game, every pro match, every highlight reel. Motherfucker, it was Chamber. The whole era became known as the Chamber meta, and honestly, it felt like the game revolved around him. Kind of reminds me of not Bastion, what's her face? Bridget. So that was funny. Now, the hate came from how unfair it felt. Because you couldn't push him, you couldn't flank him, and you couldn't even punish him for overpeaking because he would just fuck off, right? So he broke the usual Valorant rhythm. No utility trades, no team synergy, just one guy cooking you from a mile away, and then you couldn't get him. So every ranked game turned into, where's Chamber holding? Because the answer decided whether you lived past 5 seconds. And it got worse because everyone and their mother had to play him. He was in every comp, every match, and every map. Even people who liked Sentinels hated him because he made Killjoy and Cypher feel like fossils. The dude was supposed to be a defensive anchor, but he ended up being a better duelist than most duelists. That's why the community turned on him. Not because he was boring, but because he made everyone else irrelevant. So when Riot finally nerfed him, it wasn't some numbers thing, it was just mercy. The game was begging for him to be nerfed. Chamber wasn't just strong, he was defining the entire meta. The same way I talked about other characters, they define the entire experience. Every match was just him front and center, and everyone was just tired of it. So that's the list, 5 of the most busted, game-breaking, rage-inducing demons we've had to deal with. There are plenty more. I know that some of you are already halfway through typing about release Kasai, Day 1 Bayonetta, or whatever that abomination of a Bastion comp was in early Overwatch. And great, tell me. I want to hear about the ones that broke your will to live, made you uninstall, and made you switch mains out of spite. Drop your personal pics in the comments and join the Discord if you want to keep this chaos going. I'll be there, probably still complaining about Bucky. If you liked the video, cool, throw it a like or sub if you're feeling generous. Either way, I appreciate you watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Take it easy.